You thought you knew the mummy? Nah. The hardest scene had to be done in one take. That single shot is just a glimpse of the chaos behind this impossible movie. From the star who literally stopped breathing on the set, to a production that created a banger that revived the entire adventure genre. Stay tuned for 20 secrets that reveal how this insane gamble became a cinematic legend. Number 1. The hanging scene in The Mummy almost killed its star in the most literal way possible. Fraser was supposed to be hanged as Rick O'Connell, but the stunt went horribly wrong when the noose tightened around his neck for real. The rope cut off his air supply completely, and Fraser actually lost consciousness and stopped breathing on set. The stunt coordinator had to perform CPR right there in the desert to bring him back to life. When Fraser finally came to, gasping and disoriented, his first words weren't about his near-death experience or whether he was okay. He looked up at the traumatized crew surrounding him and asked, "Did we get the shot?" That's the kind of dedication that defined this entire production.
The camera swooped around and I went up on the toes, and the guy holding the rope above me, he pulled it up a little higher and I was stuck on my toes. I had nowhere to go but down, and so he was pulling up and I was going down, and then the next thing I knew, my elbow was in my ear.
The stunt coordinator, a veteran of decades, later admitted it was the closest he had ever come to losing an actor on set. The sheer panic that went through the camera crew in those few seconds was palpable, and the director later said the experience was a severe wake-up call about the dangers of extreme practical stunts in the Moroccan heat. That near-death experience was just the start of the chaos. Number 2. You probably remember the library scene, but here's the wild part. The massive library sequence where Evelyn accidentally knocks over the towering bookshelves wasn't achieved with miniatures or digital effects. Those were real. Said to be massive. Some report 7-ton wooden structures that could have crushed anyone in their path. The production team built the entire library set as a practical environment, complete with thousands of actual books and scrolls. The bookshelf domino effect required incredibly precise engineering and perfect timing, making it a spectacular and dangerous practical stunt. The library scene wasn't just a physical stunt. It was a defining moment for Evelyn, the character who became the heart of the movie. Number 3. Rachel Weisz wasn't the typical choice for Evelyn. Production stories claim the studio initially wanted a generic damsel in distress, pretty, helpless, and there mainly to scream and get rescued. But when Weisz auditioned for the role, she did something that changed the entire movie. She challenged director Sommers directly. Instead of just reading the lines as written, Weisz asked why Evelyn had to be so helpless. Why couldn't she be smart, capable, and actually useful to the adventure? Sommers realized she was absolutely right. The generic love interest they'd planned would have made the movie forgettable.
Oh, and you know how they took out your brains?
Evie, I don't think we need to know this.
They take a sharp, red-hot poker, stick it up.
But Weisz's vision of Evelyn as an equal partner would make it special. The chemistry between Fraser and Weisz was instant and electric. During their first screen test together, they started improvising dialogue and playing off each other's energy in ways that weren't in the script. Number 4. The desert location in Morocco became a genuine survival situation for the entire cast and crew. Temperatures regularly hit 120 degrees, which was hot enough to literally melt camera equipment. Multiple crew members had to be airlifted out due to severe heat exhaustion, and the medical tents became as busy as the craft services table. Rachel Weisz collapsed during filming and had to be rushed to the medical area.
In that when it's 140 degrees, it's as hard as 140 degrees is. It's just hot, 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 hot. You have to still sit very still like a lizard.
The heat was so intense that water bottles became scalding hot within minutes of being opened. Makeup melted off faces faster than it could be applied, and the sand was so hot it burned through shoe soles. The crew started filming at dawn and had to stop by at 10 in the morning because it became physically dangerous to continue. Even in the early hours, the heat was brutal.
You just got promoted.
Number 5. Over the years, a persistent rumor claimed that huge stars like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt were almost cast as Rick O'Connell. But director Sommers has publicly shut that down. He says that from the very beginning, he only saw Brendan Fraser in the role. In fact, Sommers said his editor read the first script draft and immediately told him, "Your lead guy is Brendan Fraser," and that settled the whole thing. The legend is still out there, though. It highlights how much the movie's success depended on its fun, adventurous tone. Fraser was the perfect fit for the movie Sommers wanted to make, not the serious action flick the studio might have tried to force. Number 6. Here's where things got truly nightmarish. The Moroccan desert locations were crawling with real scorpions and snakes, making every day a genuine survival challenge. Animal wranglers were on constant duty throughout the entire production, and several crew members were treated for stings and bites. A real-life hazard that kept everyone constantly on edge. The desert wasn't just providing a backdrop for adventure, it was actively trying to kill the people making the movie. Vosloo had to perform his mummy scenes, knowing that deadly creatures could emerge from the sand at any moment. Sources say the animal handlers worked around the clock to clear shooting areas, but the desert ecosystem didn't care about movie schedules. Every step, every take, every moment of lying still in the sand carried genuine risk. Medical personnel had to be on standby during outdoor shoots, not just for heat exhaustion, but for the very real possibility of venomous encounters. The constant threat added an authentic tension to performances that you simply can't fake with special effects. But hold up. The biggest shocker wasn't the heat. It was who almost played Rick O'Connell. Number 7. Universal was betting big. $80 million was an enormous gamble in 1999, especially for a movie that mixed genres in ways that hadn't been proven successful. The studio's biggest fear was that the mummy would fall between two stools. Not scary enough for horror fans.
The Book of the Dead. Are you sure you want to be playing around with this thing?
No harm ever came from reading a book.
Not serious enough for action fans. They worried that the comedy would undermine the scares, and the scares would undermine the comedy. Nobody had successfully mixed supernatural horror with lighthearted adventure on this scale before, and Universal was betting the farm on Sommers' vision. All this while backing it $80 million. Keep that number ready, because when we hit number 17, we'll see if that gamble actually paid off.
Good luck, boys. It's just like blood.
And the rivers and waters of Egypt ran red.
Number 8. Arnold Vosloo didn't just play Imhotep. He became a walking laboratory for cutting-edge visual effects that pushed 1999 technology to its absolute limits. Every single scene featuring the mummy required 18 separate layers of digital effects.
I had my buddies up at George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic on my side. For the mummy, ILM used a combination of live-action footage of actor Arnold Vosloo with computer-generated imagery in a way that had never before been seen on film.
Each one more complex than most movies' entire visual effects budget. Vosloo wore a full-body sensor suit covered in tracking markers, essentially turning him into a human motion capture stage before that technology was even mainstream. The decaying flesh effects that made Imhotep look authentically undead were layered over Vosloo's actual performance. The rendering process was so complex that VFX team claims Industrial Light and Magic had to assign dedicated computers to individual body parts. One computer handled just Imhotep's face, another focused solely on his hands, and a third managed the full-body decay effects. The computers ran 24 hours a day for months, processing the mathematical calculations needed to make Ancient Evil look convincing. This rigorous system, which became the industry standard for complex character effects work, was necessary because every movement had to feel like it came from someone who had been dead for 3,000 years.
We've got problems.
Number 9. The most technically challenging shot in the entire movie was Imhotep's mouth opening to reveal an infinite void of darkness.
Hey! Get your ugly face off of her! Look at I got.
Creating this effect required 4 months of dedicated rendering time, with each individual frame taking VFX team claims 18 hours of computer processing to complete. Industrial Light and Magic had to build new computers specifically for this one shot because their existing systems couldn't handle the computational demands. This single effect was a major factor in the movie's massive budget. Number 10. The Sandstorm sequence that reveals Imhotep's face in the swirling sand pushed ILM's particle simulation systems beyond anything they'd attempted before. Millions of individual sand particles had to be calculated separately. Each one following realistic physics. VFX team claims the computers ran for 6 months straight processing just the Sandstorm sequence, forcing the technical team to develop entirely new software just for this one effect. The result was a visual that felt both impossible and completely real. Number 11. What made the curse sequences even more authentic was Vosloo's commitment to linguistic accuracy. He spent months studying with UCLA Egyptologists to master not just the pronunciation, but the cultural context behind Imhotep's speeches. The incantations he speaks aren't made-up movie magic. They're based on real funeral rites and religious texts from ancient Egypt. Vosloo could hold full conversations in ancient Egyptian by the time filming wrapped, adding a layer of authenticity that elevates the horror. This commitment to the look and language is what made the movie work, but it also became a template. Number 12. Before The Mummy hit theaters in 1999, adventure movies were considered box office poison. Studios had written off the entire genre after a series of expensive flops convinced executives that modern audiences had no interest. But The Mummy's massive success proved that audiences were actually starving for escapist fun. The movie provided the template, mixing supernatural threats with humor, romance, and cutting-edge effects that directly influenced the next wave of adventure blockbusters, like Pirates of the Caribbean and National Treasure. This formula became the unquestioned blueprint for successful adventure filmmaking in the 2000s and beyond. Number 13. The success of Imhotep's digital resurrection was entirely dependent on Arnold's physical performance. He wore a full-body sensor suit covered in tracking markers, turning him into a living motion capture stage. The technology was built to amplify his acting choices, not replace them. Every gesture, every expression, every moment of menace came from his acting choices, with the digital effects amplifying rather than creating the performance. Number 14. The choice of scarab beetles wasn't random movie symbolism either. In ancient Egyptian mythology, scarabs represented resurrection and the cycle of life and death. The scarab attack sequences that terrify audiences were designed using real beetle behavior studied over months. The sounds were completely authentic too. Hundreds of live beetles were recorded crawling on wood, stone, and metal to create the audio that makes your skin crawl. Speaking of real history, the movie's fictional curse was based on genuine ancient fears. Number 15. The Hamdi curse that drives The Mummy's entire plot wasn't just Hollywood invention. It was based on genuine ancient Egyptian beliefs that terrified people for thousands of years. The real Hamdi was reserved for the worst possible crimes against the gods themselves.
The undead for all of eternity. The Magi would never allow him to be released, for he would arise a walking disease.
We're talking about offenses so severe that regular death wasn't considered punishment enough. The curse trapped the victim's soul in conscious eternal torment, aware and suffering but unable to escape or find peace.
Prince Imhotep's sanctuary.
Number 16. The original script that Universal first approved was pure horror, a straight remake of the 1932 Boris Karloff classic. The studio thought horror was a safe bet because scary movies had reliable audiences and predictable box office returns. Adventure movies, on the other hand, were considered box office poison. Sommers had to fight tooth and nail to transform the script into the adventure romp we know today, doing secret rewrites behind the studio's back.
I'm Stephen Sommers, the writer-director of The Mummy. When I began this project, I knew it was going to be a challenging shoot. The biggest challenge was to recreate the mysterious world of ancient Egypt and a very threatening monster that could frighten a modern-day audience.
He convinced them that modern audiences needed the fun and romance of a classic adventure serial, not just another dark horror film. Number 17. When The Mummy hit theaters, critics were divided on its genre-bending tone. While some praised it, goofy, action-filled throwback, others struggled with the balance, dismissing it as spectacularly silly, or a thrill ride with little genuine suspense. The consensus was that it was a fun, campy adventure that wasn't trying to be serious horror, leading to mixed reviews. But audiences completely disagreed with any negative assessments. The $43 million opening weekend absolutely crushed every studio projection. People were lining up around the block, demonstrating a massive disconnect between critical expectations and what regular moviegoers actually wanted. Universal executives were getting calls from theater owners asking for more prints because they were selling out shows. By Monday morning after opening weekend, studio executives were already calling Sommers demanding a sequel immediately. The film's immediate overwhelming box office success proved that the public was ready for this new kind of adventure film, regardless of the critics' reservations. Number 18. Evelyn Carnahan's name isn't just a pretty-sounding character name. It's a direct reference to Lady Evelyn Herbert, one of the most obsessed Egyptian explorers in history. Lady Herbert was the first person to enter King Tut's tomb in 1922 and was widely rumored to have died under mysterious circumstances that many people attributed to a mummy's curse, making her the perfect inspiration for the movie's hero. Number 19. The Mummy's original trailer was deliberately misleading. It was cut to look like a dark, serious horror movie, emphasizing the scares and the supernatural threat while completely hiding the humor and adventure tone.
Jonathan, I think you found something.
There is an ancient legend of a place known as the City of the Dead.
Universal was so nervous about the comedy that they tried to trick audiences into thinking they were seeing a straight horror film. But audiences quickly realized the movie was actually a fun, action-packed romp. Number 20. Director Stephen Sommers had one unconventional rule for casting. He wanted actors who could deliver their lines while being attacked by a swarm of beetles or falling from a great height. He prioritized performers who could handle both the physical comedy and the serious action simultaneously. This is why Brendan Fraser was the perfect choice. He could be funny, heroic, and look genuinely terrified all at the same time.
Oh my God. Hey, Winston! Pedal fast!
Giving the film its unique tone. That was the exact kind of commitment to authentic adventure that made The Mummy special.
He's here.
Sommers and his cast were willing to risk everything to create something that felt real, even when it was completely impossible. You can't fake the energy that comes from genuine danger and real commitment. That's the spirit that made The Mummy legendary. These 20 secrets reveal a pattern that most people miss. The Mummy succeeded because it was made by people who took the adventure seriously, even when they were having fun with it. The technology pushed boundaries, the performances felt authentic, and the production embraced the chaos instead of fighting it. If we missed any of your favorite unscripted moments, drop a comment below and tell us which movie we should cover next. Want more secrets from movies that changed everything? I'll drop a link to another video here on the left now.